YouTube, welcome back to another video, and today's going to be a condensed guide / showcase for the new Hydro Bow character that's been released in 2.7, Yelan. Today we're going to be covering multiple different portions of Yelan in this video. We're going to be talking about weapons, artifacts, talents, constellations, and a little bit of gameplay with a showcase. So if you guys do find this video helpful to you, and if you guys do also just enjoy this video, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. A very small amount of y'all who watch my videos aren't actually subscribed, so could you guys please scroll down and check, and please hit that red subscribe button, and also click that notification bell to make sure you guys are always notified when I upload. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Alright, so let's quickly dive into the weapon portion first. So first, there will be two different portions, these support options and then the damage weapons. So with the support weapons, I personally really like Favonius. Sacrificial Bow is really good with high refinement. I personally don't recommend it at low refinement. The Fading Twilight, which is the new bow currently in the event, you can get R5 pretty quickly, but it is a little bit not a support based weapon, more sub DPS because of the damage on its passive, but overall it's still a really good universal bow, not only just on Yelan but other characters. Elegy is a really nice option too with recharge, and you can get all of the passive procs with Elegy with Yelan, and I believe that is all of the support recharge based weapons for bows. But if there are any that I personally forgot and didn't mention, please let me know in the comment section below. Now with the damage weapons, they're stringless. Overall, this gives raw elemental skill and burst damage. At R1 is 24%, and then R5 is 48. Veritas and Hunt, the battle pass bow for crit rate. Overall, just a good crit rate bow. There is the 3-star options. Raven Bow, really good early game. Increases your damage against opponents affected by Hydro by 24%. Sharpshooter's Oath and Messenger being crit damage stat sticks, Slingshot being a crit rate stat stick, and Recurve Bow being an HP stat stick to increase your HP scaling damage for Yelan, since Yelan scales off of HP. And overall, those are the only 3-star bow options that I personally have. I don't think there are any other ones that I personally do have and remember. Again, if I did forget any, please let me know in the comment section below. And then with the 5-star options, there is the Polar Star, Thundering Pulse, Scoured Harp, and the Aqua Simulacra. With the more DPS weapons, I prefer Scoured Harp and Aqua Simulacra. Of course, are best in slot. Scoured Harp being one of the most universal bows in the game, giving crit rate and crit damage. With Aqua Simulacra literally scaling off perfectly with Yelan, giving 88% crit damage, and then HP on R1 with this passive. And then Thundering Pulse and Polar Star are not really ones that I personally recommend over other weapons, but they are really good general stat weapons. You know, crit damage from Thundering Pulse, and then with Polar Star you can get all of the stacks with Polar Star, but it's a little bit harder compared to like maybe Tartag, who can use it. But overall, it's still a crit rate weapon with some really heavy stats on its passive, so you could also use it. But I believe that is all of the 5-star options that I personally recommend for Yelan. If there are any that I personally missed out and you have questions on, please leave it in the comment section below. But that about wraps it up for the weapon portion of this video, so let's quickly move on to the next part. Next, let's move on to her talents. So I have her at 668 talents. Charge Shot. So Yelan will enter a breakthrough state after spending 5 seconds out of combat, which will cause her next charge aim shot to have an 80% decreased charge time. And once charged, she can fire a breakthrough barb that will deal AoE hydro damage based on Yelan's max HP. So I wouldn't say you should really focus too much on her autos, but I would, like, just like me, I have it up to level 6 just to where it will still be doing damage. But this shouldn't be your main priority. If you have C6, this will be a much higher priority, but right now I have it at level 6 and I'm probably not going to get up any higher. But her skill and burst are where a lot of her value comes from. So her E, her special little running dash, so fires off a lifeline that allows her to move rapidly. entangling and marking opponents along its path. When this rapid movement ends, the lifeline will explode, dealing hydro damage to the marked opponents based on Yelan's max HP. As you can already see, she's a very HP oriented character who is scaled almost entirely off of HP. So as you will see in the artifact portion of this video, I will be talking a lot about her stats and how much you should be focusing on HP and stuff like that. So with her burst is of course another HP scaling talent, and it's basically just Xingqiu's burst but with an HP scaling. And I would say this should be your main priority when it comes down to talents. Her burst is probably one of the most important parts of her kit at C0 as a support, and even at C6 as well. Has a 70 burst cost, a little bit on the more expensive side, but it's still fine because if you're running a recharge weapon or a recharge set, artifacts and stuff like that, it should not be a problem. So yeah, I would say prioritize on her burst, then her scale, and then maybe her charge attack if you would like. But that is basically it for Yelan's talents. When it comes down to her passive, so when the party has 1, 2, 3, 4 elemental types, Yelan's max HP will increase by 6, 12, 18, and 30%. In my opinion, I do not think you should be running 4 elemental types. In my opinion, at C0, since a lot of her kit is scaled off of her burst, so having a very high burst type is very important. Me personally, I like running Yelan with a hydro support, and also with Favonius, so she'll always have her burst up when I need it. So I have her on 3 basically different elemental types, 2 hydro and then 2 alpha, like an electro, animo, pyro, whatever. In my opinion, I think having a support character that is same elemental type is better than having an extra 12% HP, because you'll have a faster and easier rotation. So that's my personal opinion. But if you guys are going to run 4 different elemental types, just make sure one of them will have a Favonius weapon, because again, Yelan's burst uptime is very, very important. Now, this is probably one of the coolest passives that I personally love in the game, right? I love it when characters get stronger when they're in battle. So long as your exquisite throw is in play, your own active character deals 1% more damage. This increases by a further 3.5% damage every second. The maximum increase to damage dealt is 50%. The pre-existing effect will be dispelled if your Death Clarion dice is recast during its duration. So essentially, when you're using your burst and you're on field, or when you're off field, you are going to be doing more and more damage as time goes. I love that because Zhao also works the same way. I love characters who just get stronger as you are in combat. It's really, really cool. So yeah, that's basically it for the passives and talents though. If you guys do have any questions, of course, leave it in the comment section below. I'll be more than happy to help. But that basically wraps it up for this portion when it comes down to talents. Alright, so let's quickly dive into Yelan's artifacts. So with Yelan, I love having her on 4-piece emblem. I think is a really, really good set for her for the increased burst damage, and of course the 2-piece energy recharge. And other set combinations that you guys can run is 2-piece emblem, 2-piece noblesse, 2-piece hydro, and 2-piece tenacity. Any of those 4 2-piece combos will work perfectly fine, but ideally a 4-piece emblem is probably your best shout and for general stats. So I have her on these artifacts, and for main stats, I would recommend an HP timepiece, Hydro Goblet, and a crit rate or crit damage circlet, depending on what weapon you have and what your stats look like. So those are basically my artifacts, and yours artifacts are going to obviously look different. You could be running a 2-piece combo, but overall, I would recommend you guys to at least be at least 140 base energy recharge from your artifacts, and then of course 70 plus crit rate and as high crit damage as possible. and with a HP sands you will be at least 26 to 28,000 plus HP. That is the general stats or main stats that you guys should be looking for when it comes down to your Yelan build. Alright, so let's dive into Constellations. So with Constellations, there's really only two that I personally recommend if you're going for early Constellations or late Constellations. There are C1 gives you an extra E or elemental skill, and basically this one makes it to where your hydro application will become faster because you get one extra arrow with your burst. These two are generally the only ones that I personally recommend if you're going for early Constellations or you have the pulls and you're trying to also get Constellations. If you're putting in the money and getting the pulls and you're trying to get late Constellations, C4 is really good, and of course C6 is just straight up broken. Makes it to where all your autos just become your quick shot arrows, to where you can just spam hydro auto attacks. It is basically like a Yoimiya on steroids. It is crazy. But C4 makes it to where it just, this is the only, I think, constellation, character, buff, whatever you want to call it, in the game that can increase max HP. Bennett can increase, increases attack, Girl increases defenses. There's not a single character in the game that can increase HP, to my knowledge. If there is, then, well, but I think this is the only character, just thing in general, that can increase HP, and I think this would be really cool if this was just a buff for a character. If we get like an HP version of Bennett that can just increase HP for characters, that would be really cool, and I hope they can make that in the future. But I think those are really it for the Constellations. There's not really much to talk about since not a lot of people are going to be getting Constellations. It's not everyone has the primos or pulls to really get them, right? But overall, I would say C1 and C2 are worth getting if you're planning to get Constellations. C4 and C6 are just absurdly broken, so that's really it. C3 though is really good because it increases your burst talent level by 3, and not, instead of increasing your skill, it can increase your burst, which is probably is the most important skill stat, whatever you want to call it, in Yelan's kit, is her burst talents. So increasing this by 3 levels is very beneficial. C5 is the elemental skill, which isn't as important as the burst, so C3 being the burst and C5 being the skill is really good. Overall, that's really it for the Constellations. Let me know if you guys are going to be getting Constellations, or you're gonna keep her at C0 because you are like me and you don't want to spend all that money and pulls on this character. So let me know what you guys are going to be doing with Yelan when it comes down to Constellations, artifacts, weapons. Let me know. Alright, so that about wraps it up for this portion of the video, and now we'll be moving on to the showcase. I am going to be running my Yelan, as you guys can see, with 28k HP, 75 crit rate, 156 crit damage, and 205 recharge. I'm running her off of Vonius, so that will be my overall Yelan build. And when it comes down to team comps in the showcase, I am going to be running her with Xingshu, with Official, and Zhongli. You guys will see the insane amount of damage, not only from not all four characters, but the 3 turret characters, and Zhongli's there just for shields. So if you guys do enjoy that part and just enjoy this video in general, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. So let's quickly dive into it.
Shine bright up all night, whenever slowing down. Fall in love, drunk mistakes.
Witness the power. Go. On, reveal. Things are about to get dicey. Gotcha. Here comes the catch. Let me leave you alone.
I will have order. Stabilize.
Things are about to get dicey. Let me leave you alone. Odds reveal thyself.
Midnight fantastic.
Game's up.
Can't calm down. My head is in the clouds.
By royal decree.
Keep on breathing, even if I step
Stabilize.
Rain cutter. Rain outlines your face.
Do it like it's only today. We got a party for a lifetime. No, we ain't stopping for the sunrise. And we don't care about the bad nights.
Gotcha.
For a second, I
Look out, power. Odds
make me
reveal.
feel like this.
Things are about to get dicey.
Stabilize.
We got a party for a lifetime. No, we ain't stopping for the sunrise. And we don't care about the bad nights. For a second, I feel like this. Make me feel like this.
Here comes the cash. Rain cutter. Midnight fantastic.
Waste another day, eyes on my display. You say we need a change, and I feel that you need it.
No, my soul. Witness the power of Gugwa. Huh? Things are about to get dicey. By royal decree.
Right, losing track of time. Buying things online, and it's not like we need them. We don't need them.
Wind knows me.
Can we just slow
No, my sword.
down?
Rain cutter. Rain outlines. For it. Here comes the cash. Odds
Wind strike.
Need to slow
busted. Things are about to get dicey. By royal decree.
As one with wind and cloud.
Gotcha. Game's up. Let me leave you alone. Rain outlines your fate. Body in shadow ravens.
Wind strike.
Quietly now. Things are about to get dicey. Rain cutter. No, my sword.
That hurts.
all we need is right here in front of
Odds revealed by busted. Here comes the cash. Let me leave you alone. Queen Dark.
Wind strike.
All right, so let's now dive into team comps since we are now done with the showcase. So with team comps that I really do enjoy with Yelan, as you guys saw, is a turret-based team. Zhongli or Kazuha for that alpha buffing shield kind of character. So I really like either of those two. And have Yelan, Xingshu, and Fischl. If I had C6 Fischl, it would be even better, but I personally don't. So I really do like this team. It's a very high DPS team, to be honest, because it's just constantly turrets. It's just constant turrets, and I could beat any boss, any Spiral Abyss floor with this team, and I think it's a lot of fun. Instead of Fischl, if you don't want to build her or you just don't have her built or with good stats, of course Beidou or Raiden is just as viable or just as good, to be honest. It's perfectly fine. It's just for Fischl to be proccing the electro charge, and if you have C6 Fischl, it just becomes just an insane amount of turret damage. It would be crazy. Now if you do not have or do not run Yelan with Xingshu, I do think you should run her on a recharge or support based weapon at C0. At C0, I think her best role is a support. I don't think you should be building her with just a straight damage weapon if you're going to be running her by herself. I do think Favonius, Sacrificial, Twilight, any of those bows are really good at support based weapons if you're not running her with a Hydro support. So Raiden or Venti are both really good batteries outside of Xingshu or Kokomi, like Hydro supports. So instead, you could be running Raiden with Yelan for that energy problem that Yelan normally has. So that would fix it. Of course, Venti would be doing the same thing. Or one thing I also like to do is with a Pyro DPS, because a common question is, can Yelan work with vaporized teams? She can. She's just as fast as Xingshu, a little bit less utility with Xingshu, but it still basically works the same way. So let's take you as an example with Yelan Bennett. And then my last alpha slot is normally like Kazuha, and normally it's Venti. Venti or Zhongli, in my opinion, are the two best options because they both give really good energy. Favonius on Zhongli works fantastic in this team for funneling more energy, and Venti doing the same thing, Venti being one of the best batteries in the game as well. Overall, I think if you were to run Yelan without a Hydro support, you do need a Favonius or battery support to make sure her burst uptime is really good and always up, because Yelan without her burst up is basically like Xiao. She is not useful at all. She loses a lot of value, so it's very important to keep that burst uptime. Now this is a very common question now that I was asked when streaming is, do you recommend Yelan? Should I get Yelan? Is she better than Xingshu or what? In my opinion, I do not think Yelan is a must-pull character. I do not think Yelan outclasses Xingshu in like a massive way. I think Xingshu still holds so much value with not only utility, with a little bit of healing, and with his C6 it just becomes insane, right? Now Yelan at C0 is basically just Xingshu at C6 without all that utility that Xingshu normally has with his constellations. But I will say Yelan does do just as well of a job as Xingshu does with a Hydro support, but she does need quite a bit of investment, quite a bit of damage, and also she does need a way to funnel in her own energy. Xingshu doesn't have that problem because of the 2E procs that he normally has with sacrificial sword. And the thing with this I find kind of weird is with sacrificial sword, it has like 55% or 60% energy recharge at level 90, but sacrificial bow only has like 20 or 30%. I don't know why it's cut in half compared to all the other recharge weapons in the game. I don't know how that makes any sense, but sacrificial bow just gets like downgraded compared to every other recharge weapon, and like, you know. So overall I think if you were to run her with Favonius and then just slap her on with like a battery character, she slaps. She is insane, and I think she is really cool, and I think she's a lot of fun, and she's hot. gives her bonus points. So overall, I think if you were to pull Yelan and you were trying to maybe have Diluc on one team and then Hu Tao on one team with 2 Hydro supports, since there is always that argument, right? Like, you always want a second Xingshu or just someone who is just as good as Xingshu, right? Because a lot of people use not only Diluc and Hu Tao together, or even with Yoimiya as well. Everyone wants another Hydro support who is just as good as Xingshu, and here she is, right? So if you want a second Hydro support to be paired in your second Pyro main DBS team, Yelan is fantastic, and I think you should pull for her. I think she is great. I don't think she even needs her weapon. Aqua Simulacra is not even needed for her at C0. I think she is just really free to play friendly at C0. I think she's fantastic. But let me know what you guys think about Yelan. If you guys did get her, did you guys skip her? Did you guys get her weapon maybe? Let me know what you guys are planning to do with this character. And if you guys did pull Yelan, share with me your stats, because I would love to see what you guys have built for Yelan. But that about wraps it up for today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy this one. This was a little bit of a longer video, but it is for the Hydro Queen herself, Yelan. So hope you guys did enjoy this video. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and I want to try and spread my content to a much wider and broader audience. So if you guys can help me out with that, that would be much appreciated. But I am going to be signing off. That will be everything I have to say for today, and I'll catch y'all next time.